Hello and welcome to your Pacific Magazine. I'm Airman First Class Ashley Powell, and on this edition, we're in New Zealand for exercise Kiwi Flag. Kiwi Flag is a multinational Royal New Zealand Air Force sponsored tactical airlift exercise. Air forces from the United States, Australia, New Zealand, and the Republic of Singapore, along with the French Armed Forces of New Caledonia, are providing the air component for exercise Southern Katapo that runs simultaneously on the South Island. These Pacific partners support Southern Katapo by managing air operations and assisting with cargo and passenger airlift capabilities. Royal New Zealand Air Force Base Ohakea is abuzz with activity, but not with its usual movement. On this day, it is the air support hub for the country's largest multinational exercise.
So Kiwi Flag is the air portion of Southern Katapo 13, which is a New Zealand Defence Force exercise to practice security and stability operations primarily into the Southwest Pacific, which is our area of interest. Kiwi Flag offers us that opportunity to work together with our partners who also have an interest in the Pacific and the stability of that region. So having a coalition of the United States, Australia, Singapore and the French is very important to ourselves here.
Kiwi Flag and Operation Southern Katapo offer a tremendously unique opportunity because of the terrain and geography of New Zealand, the emphasis that the New Zealand Defence Force has on its largest exercise in 20 years, and the ability to integrate our South Pacific Coalition partners as well as the tactical and strategic skills that our Pacific Air Force's airmen bring to the game.
While these participating PACAF airmen applied their expertise to the exercise, Mission Planning Chief Captain Daniel Hartung hopes they gain something new from this experience.
For me personally, I think one of the big things is that the Kiwis have the lead on this rather than the US, and they are a much smaller Air Force than we are, only a couple thousand people. So we come down with a larger jet than they have in their entire inventory, and that's a big logistical problem that needs to be worked out to where it's going to park on the ramp, because their ramps aren't really made for aircraft our size. So that's really kind of a big thing, is how do we talk with them and then talk with the others, and how do we all kind of operate together and get along in a completely different arena than we're used to. Working with them, it's just the natural thing of you're working with another country, they use a little bit different lingo than we do. If we can learn something from them, some kind of procedure or technique or a way of doing business that they do it, and hopefully they can learn from us as well and just grow kind of as a force.
For myself as the head of the air operations here, it provides us with a great opportunity to interact with our coalition forces, and of course allows us to understand the lessons that we need to learn if we're going to do this in the future.
This year marks the second annual Kiwi Flag, but this is the first time it is held as a supporting role for exercise Southern Katapo. Southern Katapo is New Zealand's largest multinational joint force amphibious exercise involving troops from 9 nations. The biggest mission for Kiwi Flag is providing quick air transportation of freight and exercise participants to the South Island.
Well, we flew into Timaru a few times, delivering cargo and personnel, doing an engine running offload, which was interesting because most of our passengers had never experienced that before. So it was a very fast-paced offload, trying to keep everything organized and everything safe to execute the mission.
Kiwi Flag started out with 145 international participants and 6 aircraft, but as a real-world crisis in the Philippines came to light, some participants were called to pack up and head to the typhoon-struck country. With the remaining 116 participants and 4 aircraft, Kiwi Flag still completed 153 flight hours, over 405,000 kilograms of freight moved, and 1,056 passengers transported.
Pretty rewarding in the sense that we can help out so many people. You know, we're coming down here and helping them out in an exercise that they're hosting. It's my first exercise and it's been a blast. It's definitely helping out with my experience, and definitely taught me a lot about my job, giving me a lot more experience as far as cargo goes.
The Republic of Singapore Air Force and their C-130 Hercules aircraft were also major components in the success of both exercises.
We are part of the participating forces as part of Kiwi Flag to be here to conduct the operations for our airdrop missions and low-level navigations. And the main purpose is also to work with the international forces. This time round it is a little bit bigger scale because of the involvement of exercise Southern Katapo. That also involved us doing multiple airlift into Timaru And at the same time, the exercise scenario does include airdrop for us. As compared to last year, this year, I think in terms of mission complexity, it is a little bit more. And we actually achieve all our objectives.
Along with Singapore's C-130, 2 U.S. Air Force C-17s also played a role at Kiwi Flag. But before this Globemaster from Joint Base Elemendorf-Richardson, Alaska, can make its way to the runway for takeoff, it takes a dedicated group of ground crew airmen to keep her running. Staff Sergeant Sean Paris, an electrical and environmental systems specialist by trade, wears many hats, so to speak, and helps out where he can. Today, his job requires signaling the aircraft to taxi out.
By marshaling the jet out, it's really signifying that I've completed my task and my job's good and that the plane's safe and I'm gonna head out and do its mission. I've been in the Air Force for 10 years now. I guess what I like about my job the most is that every day is a different day. I come in and have a different problem and get to go out there and troubleshoot it and fix it up, and see that jet take off is just the best thing in the world.
It takes this 150-ton aircraft less than an hour to travel the 355 miles from Royal New Zealand Air Force Base Ohakea to the hub of Exercise Southern Katapo in the city of Timaru. Once at the Richard Pearce Airport, it's the Air Movements Group, made up of U.S. Marines and Royal New Zealand Air Force members, that help bridge the gap between these two exercises.
I'm working with the New Zealand Air Force to run the airfield that's out here, bringing in all of their troops to do their exercise. I have been to a lot of countries, I've done a lot of operations, I've been in the field plenty of times, but none have been as exciting as being here in New Zealand. It's beautiful scenery, it's a beautiful place to be, and Southern Katapo is definitely a great operation to be a part of.
With such a big exercise, it takes a bit of coordination from the small two-nation team to manage the hundreds of passengers and thousands of pounds of cargo that come through every week.
We each have a job in coordinating, getting everything on and off, all the cargo, all the personnel. My responsibility is mainly focused on personnel. That leaves everybody else to participate doing their roles, and it flows. It's a free-flowing operation.
One thing I've learned in this big exercise is there's a lot of people here and you've got a lot of different sections and stuff like that. So I've learned how the system breaks down and how to go through the correct chains of command, and it's pretty essential, otherwise some sections can get more overworked than others if they're picking up extra work.
While one airman breaks down the system, metaphorically speaking, another airman makes sure his plane doesn't physically break down.
My name's Staff Sergeant Kyle Bomey. I'm a flying crew chief from Hickam Air Force Base. Anytime we go TDY with the jet, it's our responsibility to make sure that it continues on the mission. So any servicing, anything that breaks along the way, we got to be able to fix it.
Whether they're from the Aloha State or the last frontier, New Zealand's unique topography provides the perfect training environment all around.
We're from Elemendorf Air Force Base in Alaska, so literally we are all the way on the other side of the globe from north to south. So come down here and operate in a different environment, that's really helpful. New Zealand has just about every different kind of terrain. They've got big mountains, they've got glaciers, they've got plains, they've got deserts. So coming here, you really kind of have to be resilient, if you will, in how we're operating.
We started out doing some low-level flying, which we're not able to do in Hawaii. We have nice airspace rules here, so it's good training for the pilots here. I was kind of there just in case we needed to divert, needed to make an emergency landing. Anytime the wheels touch the ground, you need to have a flying crew chief on board. Just in case something goes wrong, you don't want to leave the jet stranded in the middle of nowhere.
These low-level flights not only allow the pilots to familiarize themselves with unaccustomed territory, they also let the rest of the aircrew practice their trades as well, such as Staff Sergeant Robert Gallagher, a joint airdrop inspector.
We have the capability of inserting personnel via the troop doors in a static line parachute or even a free-fall parachute employment. What I did when I opened the doors was I was inspecting to make sure that the door jambs of the aircraft had nothing sharp or nothing protruding that would cause the personnel to have their static lines cut or get tangled up in anything that could impede their ability to get out of the aircraft. The career so far, I've estimated I've thrown about 1,500, 2,000 jumpers out of the aircraft.
While deploying over 1,000 single PJs is impressive, there's one jump master at Kiwi Flag who boasts over 1,000 jumps personally.
I'm one of 3 free-fall jump masters that's here to facilitate the joint personnel airdrop mission. I've been doing this 39 years. I enlisted in 1974. I did about 16 years in the Air Guard, and I came back on active duty in 2003. I'm kind of a late bloomer. I have about 650 static line and about 350 free fall. Well, jumping is certainly one of the big attractions. All PJs are jump and dive qualified. They're also qualified as battlefield trauma. And there are a lot of unique and appealing features about this career field that keep everybody in for a long time. We all have to maintain a currency of at least 2 jumps every 90 days, a lot of which are done at night, and in my particular career field, a lot of those are done out in the open ocean. So our guys are proficient, day, night, land, water, all environments, both free fall and static line. Well, they're joint airdrops, and so basically we're putting out either containerized delivery systems or heavy equipment to the drop zone to support the personnel on the ground. And then we will facilitate the personnel airdrop part of that. And in this case, we're going to do a free fall jump from 9,500 feet. And we will coordinate the release or the exit of all the jumpers so they get out at the right time based on the winds and other factors and put us either on target or adjacent to the equipment they have just dropped in.
Despite a few delaying maintenance issues and having to divert aircraft and personnel to assist the Philippines with the real-world natural disaster, these Pacific partners learned to overcome the obstacles faced during the 3-week exercise and join together as a rapid, responsive, and unified force. With that, we wrap up this edition of Pacific Magazine. I'm Airman First Class Ashley Powell, and from all of us at AFM Pacific, thanks for watching.